Okay, Donna Caruthers, we're going to take a look at your ad funnel here. So if I click on this link here, it takes me to this page here. So this is the post. So let's see here. Now enrolling infants through middle school for fall 2019. We are an authentic Montessori experience and vibrant school community where children become engaged learners, confident individuals, and prepared achievers. Schedule your tour today. Okay, so for the most part, I actually like the copy. Of course, copy is only as good as the market tells you it works. So, one thing you might want to try is, what we're looking at also, just to clarify, is this is a post in your Facebook page. So this isn't an ad. Now you can boost the post, but I highly recommend not boosting posts, rather running ads. So you can actually go into the Facebook ad manager and build an ad. I think these images are wonderful. These are great images, really cute kids, obviously, and high quality images. I like the carousel feature. So it's it's a nice looking ad. It's the copy is good, but again, you want to run a few different versions of the copy because you're just not you don't know what's going to actually work. You can obviously make the best guess possible, but one of the benefits of working with a digital marketing system like Facebook is that you don't have to stick an ad. You don't have to go with one ad and just hope for the best, like you do with like a newspaper, right? So with Facebook, if you use the Facebook ad manager, you can run a campaign and you can run multiple ads and test different variables against each other to see what headlines work better or what value propositions work better. Just based off my our experience here at Hubbly, what I would suggest is you have to be very judicious with every word in the copy, right? So um, I like what you're saying. Now enrolling infants through middle school for fall. Um, and then you say we are an authentic Montessori experience. So obviously for parents that are looking for, that know they're looking for an authentic Montessori experience, that's good. But here's the thing, it's very likely that there's a whole huge market of parents that are a perfect fit for an authentic Montessori school and are looking for it, but just don't have the words to know what they're looking for, meaning they're looking for individualized lesson plan, a developmentally appropriate educational experience for their young children, and a strong focus on character development, and the things that are core value propositions of Montessori. There's a growing market of young parents today that are far more educated, especially the moms, who generally engage this process initially by probably 9 to 1, but 90% of the people we see engaging the enrollment process initially are the moms. So if you're looking for the earlier ages, infants and toddlers, you're looking for on average a 28-year-old mom. Well, the good news is that 28-year-old mom today is far more educated than she was on average 20 or 30 years ago. Today, the majority of people in college and university are women, which is amazing. So what's great is that means that there's a growing market demographic of young moms that are actually looking for better education, and they're more aware of what what they're looking for. And again, but they know it in their words because they don't necessarily know what Montessori is. So those people could be a great fit for your school. So you want your ads to speak to those people rather than only people that are looking for, or only people that already are sold on an authentic Montessori experience, because that's a much smaller market, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be enrolling parents that I mean, obviously, if you met a parent through a word of mouth referral from one of your, favorite parents that are already enrolled, and they came in because of a word of mouth referral, which I'm sure happens quite a lot, that person might not already know what an authentic Montessori experience is, but they're like probably 80 to 90% sold on your school because of that word of mouth referral, because they have a friend or a family member that has already put their trust in you, right? And marketing is really just a process of building trust with people. So, so I'm looping through a couple of concepts here, but in general, this is a nice looking ad, but I would say put it to the test. You can make that same ad inside the Facebook Ad Manager, and then make a few. You duplicate it. You make a few other versions with different headlines, different value propositions, and you test them against each other to see what actually works. So now when we click on this, let's go to the next step. So what happens when we click on one of these great pictures here? It's taking us to your website, to the admissions page on your website. I'll give you a good mark for that. I mean, you're not just sending them to your website's homepage. That's a good thing. What I will say though is that what we see here is, what you're looking for on a landing page. So again, a landing page is it's just a web page, but generally speaking, a landing page has some very specific design rules that make it a landing page. So one of those is that it's uh, it's called a landing page because when people click on an ad, that's where they land, right? Or it could be, you set up a dedicated landing page for a particular optimized keyword for, keyword placement or what have you. So the point is to a landing page is that it's there to get parents to the next step, right? Your parents, your customers, which are parents, of course, um, they have a very specific decision-making process. So that decision-making process um, doesn't happen on your website, right? Your website is there to get the right prospective parents to to incentivize them and explain to them how to book a tour and hopefully show up for that tour. And of course, if they're a good fit, enroll. So that's the purpose of that landing page for you, right? Because obviously, for a Montessori school, your customers, your parents, they don't they cannot, nor would you want them to, or even allow them to make a decision on enrollment simply from coming to your website. That would be crazy for both the parent and for you, right? So your customers' buying decision process, their decision-making process, requires uh, coming to your school. So you want a landing page that promotes that process and makes that process clear, and also ensures that the highest percentage of parents that are the right fit for your school, when they click on that ad or that post, and they come to that landing page, you get the highest conversion rate on landing page visits to inquiries or tour bookings. Okay, so that's the premise of what the purpose is of this particular web page we've landed on. So let's take a look. Now, okay, I want to take one step back. Another rule of a landing page is that it should have one call to action, one singular goal. Ideally, you want to have as few goals for that user as possible, and it really should just be one. That's how you optimize that landing page. Now, you might test a few different, again, you can do what's called split testing or A/B testing. When people come to that page, every new person that, let's say, clicks on the ad and comes to that landing page, you might have 2 or 3 versions of that landing page to see which one, promotes the highest conversion rate of landing page visits to tour bookings. So, um, so, so let's take a look. Let's start counting how many goals you are either overtly or passively suggesting the parent accomplishes from this web page. So basically, you can think of a goal on a web page is an action. It's a call to action, right? So you've got a number of you've got a whole menu here of different pages they could click on. You've got a big one. It looks like this is the big one here, the one that you're kind of that's standing out the most. It says stay in touch. So I do like that it is right there, and obviously, it does draw the attention. I would suggest, although your brand color, you can see the Starwood Montessori. That purple is also here in your call to action button. Subscribe. I would suggest that you pick a different color rather than the purple. It's not a bad color. It's also, by the way, it's competing with all of these social network buttons down here, right? So again, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 more goals on this page, right? You've got some good pictures, some good information for those that want to scroll through. You've got links on the bottom, right? And you've got phone numbers too. So there is there's a phone number up here. There's more social links. There's a search button. So all of these goals on this page, all of these actions or options for clicking are competing with each other, and they're competing with your biggest priority on this page, which is clearly subscribing to stay in touch. Now, the goal that I strongly suggest, certainly if you're going to invest into an ad, please never just send them to your website. And the main reason why is because your website has all of this information that is all of these goals that is not being clear. You are going to see while it's not like any of this information hurts, particularly the parent, and all this information is required, right, at some point for the parent to make the decision to enroll. The question is, at this stage of the decision-making process, is this the time that they need all of that information, right? And is this the right time to stop them? I mean, essentially, your website is acting kind of like a brochure, right? But a brochure is a brochure, and a website is a website. And a marketing strategy for getting traffic in from social media ads and posting and things like that, you don't want them to stop and read a brochure right now. That's not, well, that's my opinion. What you want your website to do more than anything else, and pretty much exclusively, your public-facing website, obviously not kind of the parent portal type of features for enrolled parents, but we're talking about the marketing side of your website that's for the public, really has one purpose, and that's to get the right parents to sign up for a tour and show up for a tour or an open house. You want to get the right parents into your school for a tour. Full stop. That is the reason for your website. Your website is not here to really educate people. Your website isn't there to sell your school, and it's not there to educate people on how your school's educational philosophies. That's not the right time for that, right? What your website is there to do is to explain in the most relatable terms to your ideal prospect the main value propositions that your school offers, and convince that person, incentivize that person as much as possible to book a tour at the school so they can actually learn like what the school is about. I mean, that's the place where you sell them on the school. When they come in for a tour or an open house, that's the right time to educate them on what is Montessori, what is authentic Montessori, what's the value of authentic Montessori. But you want to be explaining that to them and teaching that to them in person. You want to do that through your passion, right? Through a presentation. That is not the right information. That is not the right goal to be accomplished through a website. And again, and this goes for any business that exists, every business in the world should be matching their marketing strategy up with how their customers make a buying decision. So Something I say all the time is, the way Coca-Cola does marketing and the way a Montessori school does marketing should be polar opposites, right? Right? Coca-Cola customer comes to how do they make a buying decision? If you're a Coca-Cola customer, uh, I don't suggest drinking Coca-Cola necessarily. I'm not endorsing them, but they're just a big brand, so I like to use them as an example. If I'm going to go buy a Coke, I'm at a store and I'm looking at a wall of like 50 different beverage options that are all competing for my attention, right? But it's a pretty small, low risk decision. It's going to be $1 or $2, depending on how big of the bottle it is, And Coke is to get me to choose their product is interrupting me all day long, every day of my life, right? Like everywhere I turn, I see Coke. Uh, I see a commercial with a cute polar bear or a Santa Claus, or I see Coke placed in a movie, you know, with some attractive people, right? So that's branding, right? Coke, the only kind of marketing Coke does really is branding. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year doing branding marketing because when a Coke customer is going to make that decision to buy a Coke rather than a Pepsi or an Orange Crush or whatever, or a bottle of water, which they probably should be drinking instead of all those other drinks, um, Coke needs you to basically see this wall of like colors and bottles and just kind of notice their red, the red from their logo, and think about what they've been trying to get you to connect their logo with, you know, 20 times a day every time you see a Coke ad, so that you choose Coke more often. And what's really crazy to think is for Coca-Cola, I mean, they're like probably the oldest drink company in the world, I would assume. And I mean, could you imagine not remembering Coke exists? I mean, who doesn't know Coke, right? Um, but if they stop doing that branding, if they stop spending hundreds of millions of dollars of branding, they will cease to exist in a year or two, right? They'll just lose their market share completely. Whereas a Montessori school, as an example, totally polar opposite, right? You need to get your customer needs to get in their car and drive over to, or hop on their bike or take a long walk and get to your school. However they get there, they have to book an appointment, and they gotta get a babysitter or something, or make arrangements so that they can actually show up, and they gotta remember, and they gotta actually get in their car and drive over there, and they gotta, it's a lot of time and effort, a lot of labor to come in and meet you at your school, which a lot of parents do all year round, I'm sure. Now, but that makes sense because they're going to be making a huge decision here. This is a massive decision. It's not a $2 beverage, right? This is a multi-thousand-dollar decision per year, right? And for some schools, it's a heck of a lot higher than other schools. And not only that, the impact on the future of their children doesn't get to be. You don't have much bigger decisions than that, right? So the way you do marketing has to be really, really different, than how Coca-Cola does it, right? So you have to get people to make a really large, a very high amount of labor. So that web page, right? You're not trying to sell something on the web page. You are trying to sell something. Actually, what you're trying to sell is getting that parent to take the next step, which is inquire or schedule a tour. So staying in touch is okay. I mean, it's not a bad thing to do, but it's not actually what you want parents to do. You don't actually want parents to stay in touch. You actually want them to book a tour at your school. I mean, assuming you don't have enough enrollment. I mean, if you're at capacity with a waiting list and you have no plans on expanding, okay, maybe staying in touch is really all you want them to do. But if you are actually actively trying to grow your enrollment and that's important to you, then staying in touch, is that really it could be a long tail, the first step in a long tail strategy to get them to eventually come into the school months later or something after you send them a bunch of emails. But that that's again, that's a different kind of marketing strategy for a different kind of business. I wouldn't suggest that for a school. Your goal is to get that person into the school for a tour, right? That's what you have to do. So staying in touch is not it's not as direct to the goal as you could be right now. I would say big button, book a tour, right? Like that's honestly what I think you should be trying to accomplish. And I would suggest, uh, you know, getting rid of all of these competing, like it's sending the traffic on every ad or post to a dedicated landing page that has one exclusive goal, and that's to book a tour, or fill out an inquiry form, is another good step in the process. So now I'm going to go ahead and subscribe here, jono at hubly.com, and let's see what happens, because obviously this is your biggest goal. This is clearly the top priority goal on the page, so I'm going to click on that. Let's see what happens now. It says, please wait. The list that you provided does not exist. Does not exists. It was actually misspelt even. So that's obviously something you want to look into. That's just not functioning. So I don't know. So that's obviously not helping you. Let's try it one more time. Maybe it was just a momentary bug. No. Yeah, so that's not even working. So obviously people could call you. So I'm not going to give you a call right now. And they can go. So again, these are a whole bunch of options, these social media options to, again, stay in touch. So it's clear that the goal of the priority on this page is to get parents to connect to your, enter your mailing list or connect to your online communities, which is, not a negative thing, but it's not nearly as direct to the goal of your school, assuming that you're looking to actually grow your enrollment as soon as possible. So I would say, one big call to action, one really big button that says book a tour, or inquire here, and maybe have a form where it's like book a tour, and you're grabbing their information, but specifically for the goal of booking a tour or scheduling a tour. So that's my 2 cents. That's and as far as, again, whatever that call to action is, whether you keep it as stay in touch and subscribe or book a tour, that button, I would say, make it something that kind of certainly pops out a little bit more. Again, this isn't bad. It's and you are. It is obviously distinct from the green in other parts of the site, but, and by the way, watch this. As I scroll around, look at all these competing actions I can take, right? Learn about this, learn about that. Anything, again, I always tell people, anything that needs to be communicated to the parents to get them to schedule a tour needs to be all on one page, not links, not sub-navigations. It's a lot less information than generally we see. They need program information. They need to know, things like tuition. You shouldn't be listing your actual tuition prices, but you should be, communicating that there is a tuition, and you need to come in to learn about it. That type of stuff. Anyways, so that's my 2 cents on this marketing strategy. I see if you have other paths happening, clearly, from the link you gave me, this is the priority that you have set out. Whether you meant to do it or not is when the people click on that post, they come to a page that has, like, it looks like around 30 to 40 different goals competing with each other. But the clearly main one is to subscribe, to stay in touch. And another thing about getting people to take a goal is they need to understand why. Like, what value do they get out of taking that action? So it could be like stay in touch to get great, to get free, to get to if that really is the most important thing for you to do, is to get them into like a newsletter. I would say stay in touch to receive helpful tips on parenting. Something that's like, oh, well, you always have to make sure that when you're asking people to do something, they clearly understand why, like what they get out of it, essentially. Like, what's, so right now it's just stay in touch. How come, right? Okay, so we'll stop it there, and I hope this was helpful to you and to other folks.